This is Philip Kotler, and I am very happy to have the opportunity to talk about the future of marketing. We are moving through difficult times. COVID, even when COVID is over, we will have another C, which is climate change. And therefore, the future really cannot be accurately predicted. But often we say that we ought to think of ourselves as creating the future or contributing to the creation of the future. But right now, I will share with you some of my observations about where we are going. Now, I use this diagram and say, is this the future of business and marketing? You would think that with the development of new marketing and mathematical and business tools, things like AI, artificial intelligence, and 3D printing and other things, and the very term marketing automation, that eventually our marketing will be done by machine. That is, the proper initiatives and responses of the marketer will be triggered when necessary to reach the right people at the right time with the right message and the right price. Okay, that's a dream, but let's move on. We have to imagine what the post-COVID scenario will be like, because that will make such a difference to the idea of what's the future of marketing. I want to distinguish four possible post-COVID scenarios. The first is when COVID is finished, we return to the normal economy that we had. People go out, they sit at bars, they gather in large groups to watch performances. Back to normal. We want that in many ways. But it would be just average growth, as it was in the past. A second scenario is that we reach a new normal with new behaviors and new features and higher economic growth. What do I mean by a new normal? Well, it will take into account that more people will be working at home than in the office, and that many more of us will get our entertainment at home without going to a movie theater or a live performance, and other features. Now, a third scenario, this is not as likely, but I would favor it, that we end up with an economy that is strongly driven to fight social injustice with rising taxes on the rich to pay for lower college costs, if not free, and everyone is covered in their health cost affordably. It's the Nordic model, which I'll say more about possibly later. The fourth possible scenario is a lot of us change our consumption habits, moving toward more nutritious food, not having as much food waste, deciding what is more healthy behavior for not only ourselves, but for the planet, become very careful about how much carbon we generate just by walking, by flying, by driving a car, where we start disciplining our consumption to keep the planet safer. That's a fourth scenario. So that will make a big difference in the future of marketing. Let's move on. I'd like to describe my picture of the business characteristics, how businesses will look and behave in the post-COVID world. More companies will be increasingly vulnerable to disruption. That's been on the increase. More companies will be collecting detailed consumer data and applying machine learning to produce actionable marketing tactics. More startups will emerge in this new world to do direct-to-consumer marketing, challenging store-based businesses and brand-based businesses and marketers. This is a golden opportunity for people who just have a computer, who are normally consumers, but they become producers as well by deciding they have something to sell to others, and they go direct and bypass stores and brands. Another feature, online sales will continue to grow stronger relative to in-store sales. More of us, in other words, will be buying things online. They will be delivered very rapidly, and we will send payment for them that way, online. Brand building will no longer depend only on traditional marketing. It will require a lot of the new marketing afforded by Facebook, Google, and other sources. I think sales growth will increasingly depend on targeted online and social media marketing as a skill set. And companies will pay more attention to brand activism, even taking public stands on certain social issues instead of ignoring them. Finally, companies will be doing more of the advertising and promotion work in-house and not sending it all to an ad agency or a promotion agency. Those are some predictions. Let's go to the consumers and their characteristics in the post-COVID world. This is my opinion, of course. Consumers will collect much more information about companies, their products, reputations, and ratings before choosing who to buy from. It's all on the internet. Consumers will pay more attention to health and safety work that will affect their consumption and food and brand choices. Consumers will have clearer pictures in their mind of the goodness of each company they buy from. If they want to buy from good companies, they'll have an image of what kind of company is this anyways? Does it really care about my needs? Many customers will prefer less choice and at lower cost. You know, we are so filled with so many finite choices for a deodorant, for any product you name. Do we need that number? Can we make our supermarkets much smaller with the fundamental things in the stores at a much lower cost? Why support so much footage of stores just to have a little more fake or artificial differentiation in our product offerings? A rise in the number of consumers who want to live more simply and consume less. I'm not saying that's going to be everyone or even a majority, but it's a market to watch. More consumers will adopt ad blockers and refuse unsolicited phone calls, which cuts off the advertisers to some extent. And consumers will pay less attention to TV ads. There's some information to that effect now that people hardly remember what they just saw. Now, this goes to something more fundamental about the purpose that companies ought to be thinking about. In the old view of business companies thought that people's wants are infinite, the resources of the nation are infinite, and that we should keep having continuous economic growth at no expense to anyone, only a good thing. The new view of business, however, is that people need some discipline. Earth's resources really are limited. Government might even try to discipline economic growth to make sure that we don't get so carbonized that we heat up the world, that people living near the equator flee to Australia, to Europe, wherever they can, so they can breathe. And that kind of disaster can be avoided if there's some more discipline in our economic growth. Companies need to replace linear thinking about running their business, which means, oh, I'll make something, I'll sell it, and the people who bought it will dispose of it somewhere. That should be replaced by circular thinking, make, sell, reuse. We should be concerned about what happened to the product, the cell phone that someone had and then didn't need anymore, bought a new one. What happens to the old one? Is it just going into a waste pile? Can we circulate more of our economic work, make it a circular kind of thing? Companies need to recognize that their newer employees want a better balance of work and family life, and they also have social concerns. I'm thinking now of the millennials in particular, and the Z group, the youngest people, that they have different value systems even when they go to work, and this has to be acknowledged. Finally, companies need to recognize that consumers and employees are worried about COVID and climate change, and they want to save more of their earnings and spend less. So let's move on. There are a lot of questions facing marketers as a result. Let me read some of them. How much will sales shift from stores to online? What does that mean for the future of in-store shopping? Will some brands move to taking stands on public issues, or will they always ignore them? Will building new brands be easier or harder in the future in a digital world? Will online buying make pricing more conspicuous and important or less important? How can a company measure the ROI of each online platform where you might advertise and the overall ROI so they can satisfy top management's interest in knowing what did we get back for all of our marketing effort? Those questions. Now, the fact is, the digital world has enabled us to come up with new tools of marketing, and most of them really not in use yet, and not even trained into the people who run our marketing efforts. But they're there for the asking. 3D printing, artificial intelligence, but even more so algorithms, actual software designed to make decisions for us, better decisions, because they take our own experience in the past in dealing with a issue and add what the marketing analysis shows improves the decision. The decision gets to be better targeted because it combines both the human experience and the mathematical findings from past work. We're going to do much more digital and social media. We're going to make more use of voice recognition. In other words, all of us know about Alexa or Siri, and they will be there to give us information and help us find things, but also facial recognition, especially where facial recognition allows us to see the mood and the feelings of a person, what state they're in. That's underdeveloped, and some people, however, are concerned about facial recognition being too much of an invasion of privacy. So we will be into big data and machine learning, more robotics, chatbots There's one psychiatric chatbot where a person talks to the machine, and the machine sounds like a therapist who asks very good questions and makes very good suggestions. That's a chatbot. Augmented and virtual reality are very important. You never should introduce a new product by building a factory, making the product, and trying to sell it. Why not simulate all of that on a virtual basis to see and show potential consumers this new product and see how many really want your company to even invest in it. Watch for blockchains and digital money. That's on the increase, and it has big implications. The Internet of Things, supported by so many sensors, which will open our doors when they see us, and so on and so forth. Marketing automation, intelligent virtual agents, autonomous machines. You remember hearing that Amazon was going to maybe send our package by drone, the drone dropping it off in front of our door. Can this be done? How can we use self-driving vehicles as they develop to actually deliver products to homes as well? What about online and distance learning? Can we improve those ways of learning? Biometrics and neuroscience and gene editing are a whole new field that marketers need to understand. And just the fact we're going to be wearing clothes, which will keep us warm if we want to be warm, or reduce the chill or whatever, and keep us healthy. Anyways, there will be what we call MarTech. There's FinTech for the financial industry. We're into MarTech. There are a lot of new things happening in marketing, and I mentioned AI and algorithms, marketing automation. Please trace your customer journeys, map them, and the touch points that were involved, and make sure your firm is at every important touch point in a very good way. Personas marketing, please help your message people imagine more about the person, the consumer or the business buyer that they're trying to reach. Create personas. Provide good content to your customers. Interesting content, stimulating content. Maybe get more influencers to show that they use your product and are very happy with your product. Set up good omni-channels. And then when you're going to introduce or develop a new product, do it the lean way that Eric Ries spells out. And finally, there are times you're going to use social cause marketing to try to change the behavior of some people whose behavior is hurting their lives. There's a recent statement that if you eat a hot dog, you've shortened your life by 34 minutes. Well, there are some things that do shorten our lives, and there are alcoholism, hard drugs, and so on. So the use of social marketing might grow. Which marketing tools will get into greater use? Well, marketers will develop and rely more on algorithms for major decision marketing. Marketers will automate more marketing processes. Marketers will judge performance using a number of key metrics. More voice assistants, Siri, Alexa, will play a marketing role. New product offerings will be first tested using virtual reality tools. Businesses will use more neuroscientific tools to evaluate messages and messengers for their effectiveness. And businesses will need what about advertising? Its future. Well, traditional advertising, TA, is weakening in its impact. It's still good for brand building to develop a 30-second commercial and show it from time to time, putting one message out for all the people who are your customers, no matter what differences there are among your customers. But you will still need digital advertising, which we call DA, to acquire incremental sales through better targeting and messaging. So TA is not going to be dead, but it's going to be combined with DA to do the best job. Media and creative agencies have not been successful restoring client growth during the COVID period. A lot of agencies have lost some credibility by having overclaimed what they were going to accomplish, and it's hurting their fees now. Mark Pritchard reported that 20% of 40,000 advertisements portrayed women inaccurately in many ways, one of which was the old maxim was sex sells. That's an outdated concept. So advertisers have to think freshly about how women should appear in advertising. Generally speaking, ads must be more authentic and believable. Now, I do believe in brand activism, and it's about wanting a better world. And brand activism is a way to address urgent problems faced by your customers, your country, and your planet, our planet. CEOs hopefully will lead the fight for change. In other words, government usually leads a fight for change. It seems to be, government seems to be paralyzed and not operating in the public's interest because of the polarization of government. But 76% of our public say they want to take the lead on change. I'm sorry, this would be of the CEOs who were asked that they prefer to take the lead instead of waiting for government to impose it. 73% of CEOs believe a company can take actions that both increase profits and improve economic and social conditions also where they operate. In other words, these are not opposites where you say, well, I'm going to hurt my profits if I do more to help the society. No, you can do both. Unilever has shown that, and many other companies. So ask, what is my brand and organization doing to build trust? What is the purpose of my firm? Do I have a higher purpose? You know, customers care about what your company is, what it cares about, not just what it sells. So here are characteristics that I admire when I study a company. And those companies listening now, grade yourself on these points. These points came about by Coca-Cola. They loved Amazon. They loved a bunch of companies. And so the study shows that all of the loved companies were run in the following way. They aligned the interest of stakeholder groups. They didn't just serve shareholders. Profits were not just for shareholders. Profits were to be shared. It's called a sharing society. The executive salaries of these 25 companies were relatively modest. These companies operated an open door policy, so the lowest employee could reach top management with an idea. That's good. Their employee compensation and benefits are high for the category. Their employee training is longer and their employee turnover is lower. You want a company like that. You pay more and you get back much more. These companies hire people who are passionate about customers. There's a way to find out when you interview them. These companies view suppliers as true partners who collaborate in improving productivity and quality and lowering cost. They believe that their corporate culture is their greatest asset and the primary source of their competitive advantage. Believe it or not, these 25 companies have lower marketing costs, lower than their competitors. Why? Because these companies are so loved that it's their customers who do most of the marketing work for the company, because consumers trust more word of mouth from friends and family about a product than they do trusting an ad and the claims of an ad. I'm not saying do away with advertising, but that's the fact. All of this is in that book called Firms of Endearment. And I hope your company measures highly on these points. Paul Plowman, who ran Unilever for 10 years and got its billions from 38 billions when he started to 60 billions in Unilever. There's a lot to say about it. You know the company because it makes Lifebuoy soap and Dove skin products, Ben & Jerry's ice cream, and so on and so forth. The main thing is every brand manager has to define a higher purpose for the brand. For example, Dove is not just to help a woman have better skin. It's to help a woman appreciate how beautiful she really is. Not only that, this company has divisions, and notice how they renamed their divisions. It's not their food division, it's their future foods division. They're looking ahead to make the right foods for people. Not the clean division, it's the clean futures division. So Unilever shows other CEOs a way to go. This next chart is very interesting. It makes so many points about the circular movement. In fact, it's called by the YKK leader, cycle of goodness. But I'll just point out two things. If you look at the yellow slide, you'll see that a worker is not only living off of wages. If that's the case, you're just a wage slave. No, he wants to be sure that his workers also get bonuses when the company does well. So they get their normal wage, they get a bonus when things have gone well, and he wants the employees to own stock in his company so that they get dividends. They have a feeling of ownership. So that yellow box on the left is a very expanded view of what makes the worker motivated and happy. And then there's the blue box at the top that shows them the company making tax payments, but it also shows that from the expanded profit, they also do a lot of philanthropy to make a contribution called social contribution. Let's move on. This is an interesting chart I use in a new book called H2H Marketing. The thing you don't want to do is three things. You don't want to do wasteful marketing. You don't want to do unethical marketing if you look above. If you look to the side, you don't want to do inane marketing. What you want to do is H2H marketing, which we define as human to human marketing. It's people dealing with people. And never forget that. So that's the message in one of our latest books. And then I'll always end with this slide to remind companies that within 5 years, if your company is still doing the same business that you did before, without any changes, you're going to be out of business. The world has changed on you and you're finished. Thank you very much.